and good evening. I'm Melisa, Idris.
And I'm Sharaad, Kuttan.
You're watching Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Let's take a quick look at the latest COVID-19 numbers. Malaysia recorded 170 new cases today, bringing the total to 3,963 infections. Now, in his daily briefing today, Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah also reported that 30 medical personnel have contracted COVID-19 from their patients. These 30 were infected because they were working in ICUs and had contracted the virus from sporadic cases or patients who were not diagnosed as COVID-19 patients. Now, as they were not COVID-19 patients, the medical staff did not wear the personal protective equipment and therefore got infected. So as a result of this, the Health Ministry has instructed all patients to be treated as COVID-19 positive until tested otherwise. Now, today, of course, is World Health Day. So let's spare a thought for our frontliners who are risking their own lives to save our lives. Sharaad?
Yeah, Melissa, you know, we had very disturbing news coming from Indonesia as well today, citing the number of doctors who have died as a result of this COVID crisis. Right. And I think perhaps that's the saddest story to be told. The loss of lives of medical practitioners, nurses, doctors, those in the front line really shouldn't be dying at this point in time.
Right, yes. So let's all stay home so that they can do their work and stay at work for us. Now, let's take a look at some other COVID-related news. The Defence Minister, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, today in a briefing said that the government will cover the cost of hotel accommodation designated as quarantine centres of up to 150 ringgit a day. This is for rooms and for food. Now, I think this comes as there's been a lot of chatter on social media about, you know, staying at really nice hotels. Photos of people coming back and being in these hotels that have been designated as quarantine centres but are in a setting of luxury.
You know, Melissa, one of the things that the COVID crisis has done is it made very clear who is really privileged and who isn't. And, you know, and very often measures taken in the interest of everybody disproportionately hurts one segment of society as opposed to the other. Of course, we know that the disease itself is blind to questions of gender and class and so on and so forth. But when it comes to finding comforts and other kinds of privileges, class is one of those things. So I think Malaysians have become much more aware of that. And this was just another instance, perhaps based on incomplete information, but that kind of took that message home again, that there are people who are privileged and who are comfortable despite the MCO. Well,
you know, the funny thing is that the government has come out to clarify, to say that, you know, the inclusion of the 4- and 5-star hotels were partly due to a request from foreign embassies who wanted a better accommodation for these quarantine centres. But it just seems that, I think, in certain contexts, it looks like there are some people being chosen for, you know, a more luxurious quarantine stay as opposed to others. I'm sure that the government has said that this is absolutely random, that, you know, there is no kind of cherry picking when it comes to where you are quarantined, but whether that message has been accepted by netizens is another issue.
Yeah, there's also a question of the hoteliers, and in fact we've had several news reports where hoteliers have said that they are also very uncertain about the measures being put in place, whether there's this 150 ringgit subsidy cap, or whether they get a full payment. And so in some of the reports it noted that at an earlier briefing they were told that if they gave a discount that they would be fully covered when they took on quarantine, people under quarantine. So again, some confusion in terms of messaging. What are the institutions you know, designated to put out this message, and have they reached the necessary stakeholders in a way that's been clear to them? And clearly that's failed.
All right, well, we've got more news, more departures from top posts at government agencies. Now, insurance industry veteran Zachary Khair has resigned as chairperson of SOCSO today. Zachary was appointed in 2018 by the now defunct Council of Eminent Persons to chair SOCSO, and this is said to be based on his expertise in the insurance and the risk business. He is also the first Malaysian appointed as country manager for Allianz. So this is Allianz Malaysia. Now, according to sources, Sabak Bernam MP Datuk Fasya Fakir of Bersatu has been picked as Zachary's successor.
Yeah, so we're seeing some of these movements in GLCs and such and agencies, and because some people might think this is par for the course, a new government comes in, people change. After all, when Pakatan Harapan took power, they did the same thing. But the difference is who those individuals are.
Right.
You know, Melissa, when you read out the CV of that individual who's now the chairman, who's now resigned, or what we get to see is the reason he was put in that position.
Exactly.
Now, many of our institutions were also under a cloud. The questions of integrity, the questions of collusion in the 1MDB issue. All these were actually were paramount in choosing the right people with integrity. So we see also the removal, and several days ago, of the chairperson of the Human Resource Development Fund,
HRDF. That's right. Yes.
Now, the person who's replaced her is a former MIC, a youth chief. Now, again, we're returning to the old way of Malaysia's, how the old ways of doing business, which is that, these positions get used to reward people politically. And the question is whether that's happening now.
Well, I think the questions we should be asking, and these questions are making their rounds with credible news organizations, whether there are reasons that have been explained for ending these tenures, often early contracts that were supposed to be ended later have
like
been...
Bank Rakyat chairperson.
Exactly, Datuk Nuri Pakam. So her tenure was supposed to end in December. That had been brought forward. She was removed as chairperson of Bank Rakyat. I mean, and what that means for corporate governance, because often these are institutions that have, Bank Rakyat, for instance, you mentioned, Sharaad, has had a troubled past when it comes to, I think there was an issue of the involvement of Tan Sri Shukri Mohamad Saleh with the audit of 1MDB. So all these things, I think it's worth to remember as we're focused on fighting the pandemic. There are maneuverings behind the scenes.
Absolutely, this is part of the problem. When the whole country is looking in one direction, other things are happening, and we must not lose sight of them.
Okay, we have to look at everything all the time. Okay, we're going to take a closer look at cybersecurity and the debates around video conferencing apps. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes, so stay tuned to consider this.
Assalamualaikum semua, kami Dayang, kami just nak pesan dan kita orang semua arah-arah time tu dalam situasi tu kita ikut arahan kerajaan untuk stay di rumah, jangan keluar, nak keluar pun atas urusan penting ataupun siapa dielakkan lagi. So, stay home, stay healthy, semua tu sebentar je. Muah.
Assalamualaikum abang-abang, adik-kakak di Sarawak. Kami Awang Nazim dari Astro AWANI ingin mengingatkan kita semua untuk patuh kepada perintah kawalan pergerakan yang telah diumumkan Perdana Menteri. Malah Ketua Menteri kita Abang Johari pun madah jangan keluar rumah mesti perlu. Kerana COVID-19 tu bukan main-main. Ia adalah pandemik yang dah meragut banyak nyawa di serata dunia, termasuk di negeri kita. Jadi nasihat kami sekali lagi, ibuah ngelayo, diam kenah di rumah. Kerana nyawa kita berharga, nyawa mak bapak kita berharga, nyawa anak-anak kita berharga. Diingatkan sekali lagi supaya diam benar-benar jangan ngelayo, mu nak ke kedai, pergi seorang-seorang, jangan ngangkut anak bini. Sekian, semoga kita dilindungi daripada virus pembunuh ini.
Assalamualaikum semua, kami Dayang, kami just nak pesan dan kita orang semua arah-arah time tu dalam situasi tu kita ikut arahan kerajaan untuk stay di rumah, jangan keluar
Hello folks, if you've just joined us, you're watching Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, with me Sharaad, Kuttan. Now, due to the MCO, video conferencing services have been widely adopted by Malaysians for everything from cabinet meetings to working from home to yoga classes. However, today, the National Security Council, in a letter addressed to top civil servants, had warned that hackers could be listening to their video conferencing conversations. Now, this is after the National Cybersecurity Agency had detected various forms of cyber attacks during the MCO. Joining us on the line now to discuss further the concerns surrounding cybersecurity is Razwan Mokhtar, a cybersecurity consultant. Razwan, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. Now, there are all these concerns about cybersecurity floating around, being voiced. Now, how should people make sense of these concerns that are currently being voiced around compromised cybersecurity?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Yes, we notice a lot of incidents or threats happening around the world, right? So this is including with the video streaming. So it's not including a video streaming, it's also including with another application as well. So based on our observation, alright, we receive a lot of streaming applications also still vulnerable and doesn't meet the standard. So we as a user have to play a part to be careful and to wisely to choose the correct application.
So, Rizwan, if I could just kind of add to that, there was, because, one of the newest applications, it's been around for a few years now, but it really took off in a big way. It went from like 10 million users to 200 million users. It says it's a developer, and that's Zoom. So Zoom has become popular. I've taken it up because people have asked me to. But what we've understood from the developers themselves is that because of the surge in demand, they've not been able to meet their own standards in terms of cybersecurity and so on and so forth. I mean, how do we, and if companies themselves admit this, then what do we do? I mean, should we go back to the tried and tested? Should we avoid new applications? What's your advice?
Okay, the service can't be avoided anymore. We don't have a choice, right? So we need to communicate with each other from our house. So the best way is to actually to understand and to subscribe whatever application that you're going to use and understand how the way they are developed it. I mean, follow their blogs, understand it, and start to use it with more careful. That would be my advice because there are a lot of options out there, right? So which one is the best? Even the best also still get hacked. So make sure that you have everything updated. You follow what advice that's being provided by CSM, and make sure that you do not simply click around with all these COVID-19 campaigns.
Okay, Razwan, I'm one of I think of a typical user of technology. I never read the fine print. South Park has warned me about the dangers of not reading the fine print when it comes to technology. But you've asked us to have a level of involvement in our take-up of technology that I think is not really matched to the average person. What could we, are you saying that we just have to be more responsible when we choose the technology or platform that we want to use?
Yes, of course. Of course we need to be more careful. We need to understand it and take our time. Because everything is hyper-connected now, right? So we have so many options out there. Even the younger generation has all these TikTok, Bigo Live. Everything is available for them. So they can switch in any application within few seconds, right? So, of course, when the option is a lot available out there, we need to be more careful. We need to understand what we're doing. We need to understand our circle. So whoever that suggests such application, we need to read it by our own. We need to validate it. We cannot only hear it. Yeah.
Well, Razwan, many of us are not as tech savvy as we'd like to be. And what's happened is in this past couple of days is there's been a rise in rumors and speculation and misinformation. I'd like you to address some of them. There have been some discussion about, dubious financial transactions, online banking transactions linked to the use of live conferencing apps. Could you help address those rumors for us?
So apparently that news has been verified by the owner of the business. So I can't go further with it. But however, remember this, alright? So there's two sides. There's one side from the owner of the server or the application, right? And one side is our side. So as the owner of the device, we need to be more vigilant. We need to be more responsible by make sure that we have the updated version. To those that use the pirate's operating system, right? It's not something new. Like if you still using Windows 7, so it's a time for you to start to change it and update it to the correct version, or at least be able at the standard. So anything happens, the other people, the support center be able to help you guys. If you're running a pirate computer, if you're running old versions, we can't help you guys anymore. So it is important for you guys to look into this.
Okay. All right. I also want to address the fact that, after the MCO and, in a time of COVID-19, we will be living differently, we will be working differently, we will be, a lot more dependency on online transactions, buying things online, having them delivered to the house without actually leaving the comforts of our own home. So is the Malaysian cybersecurity infrastructure built to sustain this? Can we have trust in the system that our data, that we will be protected as consumers? Okay,
so I'm a cybersecurity consultant, so when I talk about are we ready to have this, in terms of the security, we over here are working really hard to ensure that we have to make sure everyone follow the standard, also to secure that or give a latest advice. But then, if we're talking about the whole infrastructure, in terms of moving forward to digital, I think we're also ready, whereby we can see, even now, we can see the stability within the connection, even the e-commerce working very well. I can order my food, I can order my computer chipset yesterday. So, yeah, I think it is reaching the way we use internet or technology.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight, Razwan. Appreciate your time and your insults. Now, we're going to take a quick break, but after this, we're going to do a comparison of the stimulus measures of Malaysia compared to Singapore and the UK. So stay tuned to consider this.
Assalamualaikum semua. Kepada warga Terengganu, rakyat Terengganu yang mungkin duduk di Terengganu ataupun duduk di luar negeri Terengganu, jadi hamba nak minta kerjasama belaka supaya kita duduk di rumah. Jangan tubik, jangan keluar, jangan bawa anak-anak tu tubik jalan ke apa ke. Ini adalah waktu yang sangat kritikal, orang kata. Kritikal. Oh, payah nak sebut tau. Jadi duduk di rumah, buatlah benda-benda yang bermanfaat. Nak tengok TV ke, macam hamba petang ni nak buat benda ni, nak nyabik rupuk. Allah, tinggi belaka dah rupuk. Jadi inilah masanya hamba nak gunakan untuk nyabik rupuk. Selesai bang. Nampak? Clear dah sekarang. Okey lah, dok kata lah, sebab kita pakai gunting tau. Kita pakai gunting dengan sabit. Sabit. Jadi tau, okey lagi ni. Siapa dia kata duduk rumah boring? So jangan pergi mana. Hashtag kekal tenang, hashtag hapus COVID-19. Teruskan bersama Astro AWANI, berita segenap dimensi untuk mengetahui perkembangan seterusnya tentang COVID-19. Assalamualaikum.
Okey, plan sikit tak apa yang hampa boleh buat untuk menolong masalah dunia lah ni, iaitu COVID-19. Ambil iktibar daripada Hobnob ni. Dia hanya perlu bangkit tidur. Itu je yang hampa boleh buat. Hampa duduk rumah sengap-sengap. Jangan keluar kalau tak ada apa-apa masalah, tak ada apa-apa urusan penting. Jangan nak sebarkan lagi, tularkan lagi virus yang dah cukup tular ni. Duduk rumah sengap-sengap, ikut perintah kerajaan iaitu Restricted Movement Order. Jangan keluar. Mesti faham, biar kami kelakar bahasa Sarawak pula. Masa tu bukanlah masanya untuk kita gaguh, mau ngelayu sini-sini, sibuh jap, duduk rumah diam-diam, sibuh keluar, sibuh berjarah. Okey, cukup mudah. Apa yang kita perlu mula ialah duduk di rumah jap. Okey? Macam Hobnob ni, tengok. Dia boleh duduk macam tu saja. Dan kalau masih tidak faham lagi, biar saya bercakap dalam bahasa Siam pula. Klaban lah, kumai lolen, klaban. Okey, liu-liu.
Assalamualaikum semua. Kepada warga Terengganu, rakyat Terengganu yang mungkin duduk di Terengganu ataupun duduk di luar negeri Terengganu, dia hamba nak minta kerjasama belaka supaya kita duduk di rumah. Jangan tubik, jangan keluar, jangan bawa anak-anak tu tubik jalan ke apa ke. Ini adalah waktu yang sangat kritikal, orang kata. Kritikal. Oh, payah nak sebut tau. Jadi duduk di rumah, buatlah benda-benda yang bermanfaat. Nak tengok TV ke, macam hamba petang ni nak buat benda ni, nak nyabik rupuk. Allah, tinggi belaka dah rupuk. Jadi inilah masanya hamba nak gunakan untuk nyabik rupuk. Selesai pun. Nampak? Clear dah sekarang. Okey lah, dok kata lah, sebab kita pakai gunting tau. Kita pakai gunting dengan sabit. Sabit. Jadi tau, okey lagi ni. Siapa dia kata duduk rumah boring? So jangan pergi mana. Hashtag kekal tenang, hashtag hapus COVID-19. Teruskan bersama
Thanks for staying with Sharaad and I on Consider This. The think tank Research for Social Advancement, or better known as REFSA, recently published a working paper comparing stimulus measures across Malaysia, Singapore and the UK. Now joining us on the line to discuss the comparative analysis of the different packages, we have with us Ivy Quick, Research Director at REFSA. Ivy, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Now, could you begin by explaining to us whether economic support packages through different countries are comparable to each other?
Hi, good evening. So our paper compares the stimulus package of the three countries, Malaysia, Singapore and United Kingdom. And while it is actually quite difficult to compare across different countries, we nevertheless try to do it in both qualitative and quantitative way. And we have found that these three countries have adopted very different approach. So in the case of Singapore and the UK, their package actually focused mainly on companies and also in preserving jobs, whereas the Malaysian package actually focused more on maintaining the household income. So after taking into consideration the announcement made by the Prime Minister yesterday, we have found that the Malaysian stimulus essentially allocates about 1% of the GDP in terms of helping companies to maintain employment, compared to the Singapore one, which is about 3.8% GDP. Whereas the UK, with their existing safety net in place, have also allocated an additional 0.9% of the GDP.
So, Ivy, can I just clarify? So you're saying that after taking into account the Prihatin Plus package that was announced yesterday, Malaysia's stimulus actually is 1% of GDP. At the moment, the whole stimulus package is being touted to be at least 17% of GDP. In fact, one of the highest in the world. So you're saying for us to focus on just that 1%?
Right. So what we have done is actually we have categorized we have break down the stimulus package and categorized it in different categories. So there is cash measures, which includes things like the cash transfers and job support. And then there's also the non-cash measures that will be things like tax deferment and loan guarantees. For the purpose of this analysis, we actually excluded the 100 billion loan moratorium as well as the EPF withdrawal of 40 billion. Reason being that our argument is that these are not borne by the government, and therefore it is not a fair comparison to include them. So with the rest of the cash and non-cash measures, that actually comes out to about 6.8% of our GDP, and of that, about 1% is for job support, which is essentially the wage subsidy program.
Right. I wonder if you could address the question of the duration of these packages, because we look across the three countries, and many of the UK in some ways had a slow start when it came to dealing with COVID, whereas Singapore seemed to have an early start. The duration, does it matter to you from a qualitative point of view of some of these measures, some of them stretching 6 months and so on and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. It matters a lot. I think in the case of Singapore, they are very generous. Not only they offer up to 75% of the salary of each employees for the highly impacted sectors, they actually offered it for a duration of 9 months, whereas ours pales in comparison in the sense that we are offering a fixed amount, and we are also only offering for 3 months. And I think that it is a little bit too optimistic to assume that our economy will pick up steam again in a short period of 3 months. So definitely, I think that in terms of policy recommendation that I will make to the government, while I think the wage subsidy program is a great step in the right direction, I would think that the companies would require support for a much longer duration.
So, Ivy, is this a question of capacity, where Singapore might have larger reserves to draw on, or the UK might have, Malaysia might have less? Is that why the duration is shorter for Malaysia as compared to these other two countries?
I think certainly Singapore would have better pockets compared to us. But then I think if we look at it, this is really an extraordinary time, and I think that this is really not a time for us to be too fixated about fiscal prudence. It is definitely better to do too much than to do too little, because otherwise our economy will tank, and we will be we will plunge into a deeper recession, and think that the government would need to step in to do something more drastic.
Ivy, can I ask you whether it is useful to have a comparison between Malaysia, Singapore and the UK? I mean, given that our economies are so different, and even the nature of our MCOs, so to speak, are different in all three different countries.
Yeah. So, well, we do have different systems, but I think that typically Singapore and UK has been sort of like the traditional yardstick for Malaysia when it comes to doing policy analysis. And we are, in a way, facing somewhat similar situations with our neighbor, Singapore. And I think that in terms, you're definitely right that there is a variation in terms of the intensity of the movement control. And if you compare across the three countries, Malaysia would actually be the one that has the strictest movement control. I mean, Singapore has just got to a more stricter measures, but before that they were quite loose. And as you know, that the stricter the movement control it, the harder it would hit the economy.
Ivy, we just have about a minute left. I want you to address the issue that you picked up in your report about the self-employed. Singapore giving a lot of support to the self-employed, Britain as well, those in the gig economy, Malaysia not so much. Why do you think that's true?
I think, to be honest, I don't really know why there is such a shortcoming. I think that is quite regrettable given that our gig economy is quite huge. I think it's about 26% of our economic growth. And these are people that are very precarious and vulnerable. I would definitely think that they will need more support. I think that perhaps the lack of comprehensive data could be one of the reasons why the government have not been able to respond in a very coherent way when it comes to helping this group of people. So that is something for us to ponder as well in the longer term. How do we have a more robust social safety net, and how do we actually be able to capture these people in our system better?
All right. Well, Ivy, thank you for speaking with us and sharing the insights of this working paper. Appreciate your time tonight. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, with me, Sharaad Kuttan, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.